Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford's EDC, and this is going to be a very quick full review for you on the Monterey Bay Knives Sea Otter. So a little bit of background about this knife is that it is made by Monterey Bay Knives. As you can see their logo up here by the thumb stud, which is run by Sanford Owen and Ray Laconico. If that name sounds familiar, Ray Laconico, that is because he is the designer of the EZC, there's a bunch of them, mostly all produced by Monterey Bay Knives. There's the EZC, the XLC, the EWC. He also took part in designing the Old Guard, which is another model by Monterey Bay Knives. Ray is also a custom knife maker who makes his own EDC customs. He also has a model called the Jasmine, which there's also the Kaiser Gemini is another knife that Ray designed. The Kaiser Yorkie. There's numerous Ray Laconico designs out there on the market, and he is also the designer here of the Sea Otter. Now, this particular knife for Monterey Bay Knives is the first 100% USA made knife. You have titanium handles. In this case, you have a MagnaCut steel blade. They started out with CPM 154, and all these blades are hand ground. So these are probably classified somewhere around, I would classify these as a mid-tech. There is some handwork involved, but mostly machine cut parts, like the blade blanks are machine cut, as well as the scales here. But titanium for your spacers, your pocket clip, your scales. I believe the thumb studs are also titanium. I don't have a magnet around to check. It's a lie. I do have a magnet. It's back of a back of a chip clip. Yeah, there's very little attraction here. When I'm on the scales, everything is essentially titanium except for the blade. No lock bar inserts. You have a carbonized lock face, and this is on washers. Now, I polished my washers, so the action is really, really nice on the close. It doesn't quite drop all the way to the thumb all the time, but it can at the right angle, and it closes up nicely. The detent is maybe a little bit on the light side, but it has never been a problem for me. I really can't shake it out with a wrist flick or anything. If you flick down hard enough, you can get it sometimes, but it's pretty difficult to accidentally deploy this knife. Kind of enough about just the general background about this knife and more about the knife itself. It's got a 3-inch blade with a nice hollow grind, so this comes to a nice thin edge, which hopefully you can see. The stock thickness is not super thick. It's probably about 0.125. I have not measured it, and I'm not going to be getting into specs with this video. Just kind of want to tell you my experience with this knife and what I think about it. So I never had any issues with the stock, though. The hollow grind on this is really nice and allows you to pass through material really, really easily with no issues. This is my pocket companion for a couple days at one point, where it did some food prep, and it it handled it really well. The MagnaCut is run really nicely. It's held a nice edge. I did have to strop it up after using it against a cutting board a bunch, because when you're coming down on the same spot on cutting board, you will dull out a knife pretty easy. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to use your knives for that type of thing. But it's certainly not a shot against the MagnaCut at all. A couple passes on a paddle strop brought this back to a really nice sharp edge. The lockup is solid. It's nice and early. There's no issues with lockup or blade play. I have taken it apart, obviously, to polish the washers. Very easy to take down. I will say the pivot, you do need two T8 bits to take this down if you want to, because that's you're gonna need them both for the pivot screw, and then you have T6 for your other hardware. But these are not, even though there's a screw head on both sides, you don't need 2 bits to get those out. Just so you know, keep that in mind. You're gonna need 2 drivers, I should say, to get the pivot out. Something else that's cool about this knife, that you can see the jimping here, is it's raised slightly above the front of the knife, and that's because it's also a front flipper. A neat little extra feature that they were able to kind of throw in there, and it works really nice as the front flipper. So something else that's really cool. I want to talk briefly about the pocket clip. This is really low profile. It gets in and out of the pocket pretty easy. It's got, a little bit of ramp there at the end, and it really does not cause me any issues in hand at any point when cutting. You don't really notice it because it is really low profile, so that's a great thing. And with this 2-hole configuration, you can probably find deep carry clips to fit this. You'd probably have to look for something from, say, MXG gear that is made for, I think there's a Zero Tolerance or a ProTech deep carry clip with a similar hole pattern. I don't know if it would work for sure, but I do know that other Monterey Bay knives clips will mount on this as well. So if it fits that knife, then it'll fit this knife as well, as the clip positioning is the same. Right-handed only, as you can see. And it carries really nicely. There's a little bit sticking out of the pocket, but nothing too crazy. It's not very flashy with the fully matte, kind of matte finish with the blasted and tumbled titanium. And the acid wash blade doesn't bring any other attention to the knife with the little tiny bit that you can see. All in all, this is a excellent knife. This is really well done. Being made 100% in the United States is freaking awesome. I love supporting, made in the USA. It's the country I live in. It's the country I want to support when I can. Not that I have any issues with products coming from other countries, but given the opportunity, I would most times choose to support the US manufacturer, assuming that the price and quality is there. And in this case, you're looking at hand ground Magna Cut, made in the USA, with US materials, by a smaller shop, all things considered. And you're coming in right at $400 retail. Now, they've had some tough luck recently getting some more blades. They had a shipment of blades lost. So they are in the process of making more of these, and there are a good amount out there already. But overall, just a really, really great knife that should become more readily available as they work the kinks out, as they find a way to get these bevels ground that's not by hand maybe. So the first ones are mid-techs. You're probably going to be looking eventually at a very high-end production here. But they are coming in, $400, like I said. So just slightly more expensive than, say, a small Sebenza, which I have a large Sebenza 21 here, for a really, really great knife that offers you something similar to a Sebenza type of feel, because you have those washers, but certainly much more modern in its deployment and action overall, as well as the steel being Magna Cut over something like S35 or S45 VN. There are a few Magna Cut Chris Reeve knives out there, but that's going to be some time before that becomes the go-to steel for them. And you already have that with the Monterey Bay Knives Otter here. So if you find one of these on the secondary, don't be scared to pick one up. It is a fantastic knife. It's really nice and lightweight. It carries super nicely. I don't have anything sitting around for a good size comparison for you, but I will bring in my TRM Atom so you can see this. You're looking at a 3.5-inch blade on the Atom. That hopefully gives you a better idea on size. I wear large size gloves, and you can see how this fits my hand. It's just enough to fit into my hand here, and you can choke up slightly onto this flat area here, and it is nice and comfortable in the hand pretty much no matter where you grab it. For me, I tend to kind of have a half a pinky on it, and that has always been comfortable for me, as well as kind of in this more saber style grip with the thumb on the jimping. Yeah, just a really good knife. Something for me that I am probably going to be selling this just to fund some other purchases. I have some custom stuff that I want to get a hold of, but a really, really great knife. And yeah, fantastic to be made in the USA. Great people over at Monterey Bay Knives. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. It's all good things. I hope to see their production increase soon, and hopefully their shipping woes and delays and losses of packages does not stop them from getting more out soon. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys off there. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.